Okay, so the result will be displayed. 17 present, 12 for, 0 against, 4 abstentions, and I'd like to have it singled out for separate voting at the FC meeting, and I'll be putting in some written questions, okay? So it'll have to be singled out for separate voting next time. If you look at the theme, you talk about rationalizing everything, then I suppose by that you mean you try to rationalize the system so that everything will be in its place. But then for primary schools with less than 11 classes, I think the situation is not desirable at all. There have been several questions, as I said. That is, first, for the headmaster's pay scale. All right, for a primary school with 11 classes, the headmaster, when compared to a big school with over 24 classes, for example, there is one headmaster and 2 or 3 deputy headmasters, right? But then for a primary school with 11 classes, there isn't even a deputy headmaster. So all he can do is that he'll be rated as an SPSM. But then, at the same time, he will still be dealing with very complicated administrative issues. So how come there is no appropriate arrangement in order to make sure that he's paid appropriately? And also for smaller schools, there is also a CDAPSM. Okay, the APSM in the past used to be quite a good posting, but now it's going to become a very basic rank. So he'll still be responsible for curriculum development, and yet for other panel teachers, they'll be somewhat higher than this APSM. So you're actually suggesting that the whole boat will be moving, or the whole vessel will be moving, but then he'll be left behind. So for the smaller primary schools, how come we have left them out? So you should take a look into this in order to ensure that the whole thing can be rationalized. Indeed, the focus is on 2 areas. One is for public school headmasters and also primary school headmasters. We try to improve their pay, and also we are trying to improve the establishment for primary and secondary schools. As Mr. Ip said, that is the whole package of measures concerning primary and secondary school operation, and we try to ensure that the operation will be smooth. And in terms of the pay, we try to look at the scale of the school and also resource allocation. And even for a small school, well, the headmaster will also have to meet the professional requirements. In terms of the number of staff under his management, yes, the number would be somewhat different. We believe that the task force has also discussed this, and we will also have to appropriately reflect the deployment of resources in different schools and how the resources can be made the best use of. So for primary school headmasters, my impression is that for smaller primary schools, the headmasters are not treated as if they were headmasters. I'd like to clarify this. As I said earlier, for primary school headmasters, the professionalism will not be affected because of the size of the school. And we are not saying that for bigger schools they will be more professional than their counterparts in smaller schools. Then how come, in terms of ranking, that has not been reflected? Because you're actually ranking them at SPSM instead of headmaster 2, right? So, Honourable Member, what you were saying was that for schools of different sizes, headmasters should be given the same rank. Yes, they might be smaller in size, but then they are still headmasters, right? And as I said, in terms, well, for the curriculum panel, you're actually suppressing his pay so that he's just treated as if he's at the basic rank. So for smaller primary schools, you have not given them enough attention. So have you met with smaller schools headmasters to understand their needs and also how their problems can be dealt with, so that they would also feel that they have been treated fairly? I'm not suggesting that they are asking for excessive pay. They are just hoping that they can be treated fairly. Well, the task force has representatives from the front line and also from the teaching profession. And they've also gone through this process of spending over a year to collect views from all sectors in order to consider those views comprehensively. So as you suggested, whether or not we have ignored the needs of smaller schools, in fact, I don't think that's the case.
For small school heads, in the proposal here, he has also enhanced salaries. It will go from 35 to 39 points. That would be the primary school. The ceiling point is lower for these smaller schools. However, in our proposal, in our revised pay scale, we have taken care of heads of smaller schools. As for APSM curriculum development, I understand that for smaller schools, the curriculum development is being undertaken by APSM. Can we improve such a situation? As I can see it, irrespective of the size of the schools, if the proposal is passed, then all schools of the officers, they would have about 50% raise, because the formula has been revised. Within this 50% increase, there is margin for the school to deploy manpower for management. For small schools, even though the base figure is small, however, the senior ranking would be increased.